Do we have a quorum?
We do?
Yep.
We do now.
Yep, and Marciana online, we're good.
Oh, good, okay.
All right, great. Are we live?
Yep.
Yeah, and I
Right.
don't think I have to do my little dog and pony show. We can just.
Sure. No dogs, no ponies. All right, it is 7:33 on Wednesday, July 12th. This is our regular Lawrence Cultural Arts Commission meeting. My name is Neil B. Smith, and I am the chair. And I'm going to begin the meeting as I usually do by kicking it over to Abby to read a little statement.
All right. Thanks, Daniel. A few housekeeping items for Zoom. The meeting is being recorded and broadcast on the city's YouTube channel. Please remember to mute yourself during the meeting when you're not speaking. The chat function for this meeting is disabled. All chats will go directly to me. Unless you are participating during the meeting, please turn your video off. This allows the active meeting participants to be seen on screen. You will still be able to hear the meeting. When you are participating, please turn your video on. If you have any trouble, you can send me a chat. And the city reserves the right to mute people or turn individual videos off to minimize distractions during the meeting. And please remember to state your name each time you speak for the benefit of those participating remotely. And now I'll turn it back over to Daniel.
Great. Thank you, Abby. I'd like to apologize in advance if I seem bedraggled. I just had a committee meeting immediately before being here. But anyways, we'll dive into things with a roll call vote, starting with Marlo. Not roll call vote, roll call. There we go. Marlo.
Present.
Mary.
Present.
Dina.
Present.
Marciana.
Present.
Rebecca.
Present.
Jill. Who I do not see, and Tim.
Present.
Great, thank you all. Next, we will move to approving minutes. So I don't know if anybody's had a chance to look at the June 14th regular meeting minutes, has any questions, corrections, or anything. If not, I will look for a motion to approve them.
I'll make a motion. This is Dina Amont. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 14th.
Thank you, Dina.
Tim, I'll second.
Thanks, Tim. All right. If there's no discussion, I will go ahead and do a roll call vote to approve them, starting with Marlo.
Approve.
And then Mary.
Approve.
And then Dina.
Approve.
And then Marciana.
Approve.
And Rebecca.
Approve.
And Tim.
Approved.
I shall also approve. The approval will pass unanimously. And we'll move to public comment, which I'm not seeing anybody in the room. I don't know if there's anybody online, but if so, raise a hand, shout out.
Nope.
Nobody online.
All right, I'm not going to complain about that. I am very tired, so we will go straight to old business, beginning as we usually do by reviewing the budget. I guess we have made some expenditures since our last meeting, so maybe we want to touch on that and see if we spent too much money on snacks for the ODSE event or.
Happily, no. We did, some things changed a little bit, but the good news is all of our artists are paid for the Outdoor Downtown Sculpture Exhibition. That's the lion's share of the budget. The plaques that were made were $474.25, which is about what I expected. And kudos to Fast Signs because they got those done and installed in record time, so I really appreciate that. Because things were changing. Things always change during art exhibits. Brochures, design and printing were $1,578. AutoCast charges $1,000, which I expected, and we paid less than $100 for food and stuff, just mostly the drinks and things. And so we were at $18,902. The thing that I'm anticipating is we may need to print more brochures. So I want to see, because I printed 400. Frankly, they've been very popular. So I'm thinking that mid-year I'll probably need to do a reprint so we can get geared up for the rest of the year and make sure we have those. So the good news is we'd be covered to do that. So it's nice to have a little buffer in there. Obviously the community arts grants, $70,000, that all went out. So that has been distributed to all the recipients. Also, I want to mention, I was doing some research and just hadn't really occurred to me, but the community arts grants are remarkably diverse. Which really fits our progress indicator of how do you move the needle. And I just went through and I was like, wow, we have Amplify, which is LGBTQ youth. We have Theater Lawrence, which is doing Crowns, which is an African-American playwright and play. Mm-hmm. We have, I'm trying to think of all of them, and I just was looking at them, but, Juneteenth. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, wow, that's really cool. Oh, Mona Clift did her mural, so we have that. So It's like, you know, it's interesting how it just gets into the consciousness somehow, and we're actually doing what we said we wanted to do, and happily we had $70,000 to do it. So I make note of that. I think that's really something that we should.
And the
be proud of.
Mixmaster show too, so you're not just doing
Music.
art, you're doing music as well.
Right, right. So,
And Free State Festival had such a
That's right.
yes,
huge
thank you.
variety of stuff.
It really was great, so. And then Phoenix Awards, we have $6,000. Tony is on for $3,000 for the art. And then, obviously, we have $3,000 for the actual event. So I think we can do some nice food and things like that. And then we just have miscellaneous stuff. So we're still doing well. And we're actually spending our money, which is also a good thing. So that's where we stand at this point.
DLB Smith, yeah, I feel like the 70,000 for community arts grants was really great, and hopefully we can kind of point to that going forward as maybe a good amount. I know that there is some budget talk at the city level. Is there? I did not watch I have not looked over the proposal. Is there any inclination as far as what budget level we can expect in the future that we can glean from that?
So far, there's not detailed information. Marla and I were talking about this yesterday. But I believe that you will be kept at the same level you are at this year. So that's a good thing. Nothing is actual until after the vote, so just caution people. My understanding is they're going to release more information with more detail at some point in the near future, so people actually can see exactly where things stand. But I think the good news is that you will have the same budget you had this year unless something changes.
Since Marlo, I would be really interested to know when that is. I did tune in yesterday, and I didn't get much detail from that presentation. I was also curious to know, because I had the same question about the 70,000 community arts grants and just if we could expect the same level. But I also was interested in things that are outside of the Cultural Arts Commission, but are still arts. So I know there's different pools of money. There was talk of doing some music and economic development this year. So I was curious what those numbers were. I know there were different pools that people, like, I know the Watkins applied for something outside of this, last year. I think it was like directly through Derek with Parks and Rec. So I would love to have a bigger picture, not just of our budget, but like the city's budget, anything that relates to cultural arts in general. I think it would be, because I always get this question like, oh, how much does the city invest in the arts? Mm-hmm. And so I can tell what our budget is, so I'm able to speak to that, but I don't know, like Juneteenth, like how does that fit in? Like I know we put funds into cultural things that are not in our jurisdiction, but it'd be cool to have a big picture number that we could spread the word about.
You're saying things that I'm not sure are actually true. So I
Okay.
think some people may approach assuming that things are happening, but all the budget is in the TGT. So that, and it's not available right now exactly what's happening, but I'd be happy to go over that, once that comes
So
out.
it's just TGT, there's no other funds that are not under the grant
Directly.
program?
No, it's all been TGT. The TGT grant program, DLI gets funding from the TGT, which they have for years. Watkins
know there was-
Museum.
So there was some talk of organizations going directly to TGT and not going through the grants program.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
referring to.
Yeah,
Not that I'm aware of.
yeah.
I mean, no, we have
Yes.
the TGT program and the Community Arts Grant program. We should
Right.
talk about this offline,
Okay.
because that's news to me.
Does anybody else have any questions about the budget, where we stand, or any of the details?
So would that mean another 70? I'm trying to think too many budgets. So would that give us another 70,000 for next year?
If
Or
it passed,
or if,
Right.
because I thought we combined the previous year with
correct.
the current year, but we're asking for a fresh, yes. Thank you.
And we're looking at August agenda and future agendas. Obviously, after the vote, when we do know the actual budget, we should set up a meeting and really look at that and decide what do you want to stick, because you all did this last year with the community arts grants. You took some money from something else and put it into the community arts grants. Are there other programs you might be interested in now that you might have a little more money? So we'll do that but we'll do that in September. I think that's after the vote. The vote is in September, I think.
It's September, I'm not sure when the vote is, but our meeting is
September 13th.
13. Yep.
So I think the vote is the week before. Anyway, we'll figure it out.
Deanna B. Smith, well, if there's no other questions or discussion about budget, obviously it seems like things are at least moving in a good direction. The next item under old business is an update on the outdoor sculpture exhibition. And we've already touched on, obviously looking at the budget, we've touched on outdoor sculpture exhibition and Phoenix Awards a little bit, but we'll dive a little bit more into them. And I guess maybe give a recap. Porter, do you want to give the the recap or the update on how the ODSC's?
You were out there sweating with me. You missed me over the right.
I was happy to see we had a pretty decent crowd, including a number of the artists who contributed pieces to the outdoor sculpture exhibition, who walked up and down Mass and I guess Vermont Street in the heat and stopped at almost all the pieces and got some really interesting information on the process that went into them, the thought that went into them, some inspiration and some of the technical details. And that was really great. It was just a really great event. I agree that the brochure is really nice. One of the best things I think from the actual event was that a lot of the sculptors ended up sort of talking, and I could hear them comparing notes on different welding techniques and things,
Oh,
which
that's
was
cool, yeah.
a really cool added benefit of having an outdoor sculpture exhibition and an event where these artists who are doing this great work but have never met can actually compare notes. I think that's all I'll say about it. All of the pieces are installed. I still have not driven out to West Lawrence to see the Theater Lawrence's beautiful piece. I will put gas in my car one of these days. But, otherwise, I mean, they're all out there. Alicia's piece is great. I'm not sure where it is now. It's our moving piece.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know if anybody has questions or any accolades or.
Well, I was out of town, so I'm sorry I missed it. But I heard great things about it, and I think you all need to be congratulated because I think the word got out so much better this year than it has in the past. And people seem much more aware that it was happening, and the brochure looks great. So congratulations.
Thank you, yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
This is Dina Amont, so I want to reiterate that too. I was there. It was super hot. Thank you for bringing that cooler full of water and dragging that all over the place. But that was extremely well appreciated. What a great event, though. And yeah, I thought the brochure is really great, really lovely. The event was great. It was great to see most of the artists were there. I thought that was wonderful. And I was really surprised at what a good crowd turned out for such a really kind of miserable, hot, and humid night. So it was really a wonderful event. So thanks for all your efforts getting that,
thank
getting
you. It
that
was
together
fun.
and emceeing for it.
Yeah.
So
Well, I always get a kick out of, I learned so much during the process about all these artists, and like Mara Strayer is just so passionate and she's so excited for this opportunity. So her talking and then sharing notes with Pat Slimmer was really sweet. So, yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate you all joining me. And I have to admit, I went up there thinking there may not be a whole lot of people, but then it was like, I would say over 30 people initially. So that was great. I was just going to add that we have the AutoCast app, so people, even if they can't see the artworks in person, they can download this app and see all of our works plus artwork around the world potentially through that app. So that's been popular. Enough people have spoken to me that I think I will do another tour in the fall when it's cooler.
oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah, I think we could get a nice crowd for that, and that would really be a lot of fun to do that. So cool.
That's great. I will say, additionally, I feel like it was a successful outdoor sculpture exhibition. The program is definitely seems like it is, back to where it was pre-pandemic, and seems like a successful program that we should continue going forward with. And also, I feel like there were enough little things that I feel like we could make some adjustments and improvements for next year, which is always nice. Although I feel like overall it's a big success. Next on our agenda, we have an update on the Phoenix Awards, which is not a total success yet because it hasn't concluded. So I think I'll kick it over to staff, or if any members of the subcommittee want to speak to the progress there.
committee is.
We did have a committee meeting and reviewed the applications, and we've got some lovely applications. We would prefer not to discuss them publicly until the recipients are privately notified, but we're on track for October the 15th. We have some things that need to be done before then. And if any of you are interested in jumping in and helping, I was trying to review some of the things that needed to be done. And there are a few things like, last year, I believe in 2019, we had somebody from the committee who approached Cork and Barrel and got all of the wine donated, kind of, or underwritten or given to us or whatever. And I don't know if there's anybody who would like to jump in and take care of that. Don't all clamor at once.
Smith, I used to work in development, and I asked people for money all the time, and now I just work in marketing, so I don't ask people for stuff. So I'd be happy to go and ask for a donation of wine from Cork and Barrel, especially if they've supported us in the past. Maybe they'll have a fond memory.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that what they have to do is give us a donation, and then we have to buy the wine. So it's that kind of a deal, but it's John Smiley.
Smith, I would still be happy to do so, but maybe we can email a little bit back and forth with Abby, and if anybody has any specific wine preferences they want to throw out there. I'm a red person, so if I'm in charge, I don't know if we'll have a good variety. So we can maybe.
I think we need a little of each.
Dina, did you have something you were going to add? It looks like, or do you want to ask for wine?
I'm happy to help. I was hoping that maybe one of us knew someone there, so I don't. But since you have a development background, which I didn't know, maybe.
I often go to Cork and Barrel with my adorable dog, and if you walk in with a cute dog,
Sounds great.
people say
I think
say
you're
yes.
on. Okay.
So maybe I'll make the initial ask, but then once we receive the donation, maybe I'll hit you up and we can do or maybe you could be in charge of selecting the wine. Is that something?
Sure.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
All right, great.
They will also make some recommendations
Yeah.
for medium price stuff. I can give you what we served at the theaters. And I would think maybe 75 to 100 people.
Yeah, I think that's a good estimate. We had a good crowd last time.
We
I
did.
was going to say it felt bigger than 100,
Yeah, I was
Peter
going to say, I would
Lawrence.
think
Maybe
maybe
it was 100,
more.
150.
maybe. Yeah,
But not everybody drinks wine,
true.
although it would be quite a party if everybody does.
Yeah, maybe 150. We'll strive for big numbers. Yeah, we did have a big crowd last time.
Pretty hefty in there, at Theater Lawrence, like at least half full. Is
Yeah.
your capacity like 300 or 400?
Yeah, we see 300.
Yeah, 150.
So yeah, it was probably over half full. Okay.
Do we have any updates on the status of the actual awards themselves?
We know that Tony's working. We had a lot of struggle getting her paid. Unfortunately, the system was just not working well with us, and there was some confusion. But we got her paid, and my understanding is she's okay. I checked in with her, made sure she got her check, which she did. So we should actually just check in with her and see if she's doing okay.
Yep.
But all should be good.
And Danny DeGarmo is going to be, if we want to do a postcard like we did in 2019, Danny did a postcard for us that year. And I did a printout. I don't have postcards, but this was kind of what it looked like the last time. So in the front, we had artwork from the artist. It's really nice. And then on the back, we had the names of the artists listed and the category that they were getting the award in. So I'm assuming we're going to want a similar
Yes, I think that's,
Okay, if we do that, Danny says that the deadline will need to be about mid-August.
okay, for images and information, okay.
Because we'd like to get it out a month in advance of the event. I think the last time we used a basic Theodore Lawrence mailing list, and then Marlo, did you also?
I think so. I think we got an art center mailing list too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then I think we kind of combined
Yeah.
the two.
we can do that.
So a mailing maybe of around 5,000? I mean, that's what we,
Sounds terrifying to me, but I think.
Oh,
we
really?
can do it. I'm just not, I haven't done mailings in so long.
It's a hefty mailing. I mean,
Yeah,
it'd be
that's a
great.
serious mailing.
Yeah.
that's what we do with all our postcards.
No, I know, it's- some people do
Yeah.
this regularly, so if you guys can help us with that, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, we've got theater volunteers that just come in and do it.
Okay. Yeah, we've got budget for that, so we should do it.
Okay.
Get the word out. And we'd have a PDF version of the card as well, so it's also emailable.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and I think the Art Center and maybe Spencer and
Yeah,
some
we
of
can
the
get to other organizations and
places
ask them to send them to.
did it
our list.
before to
Yeah.
really promote it. And once we get the artists identified, I'm sure the organizations that they're connected with can also help get the word out.
Yep. We'll be in touch with Tony to get some artwork, either of things that she's produced or what she would prefer to put on there.
Yeah, now you sent me a few things before, but it would be lovely if she had,
If she has actual photos of,
Yes.
yeah. So we
Yes.
can definitely check in and see how she feels about sharing that.
okay, that'd be great. Because these looked so good the last time.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Well, I'm glad to hear things are moving along pretty well with the Phoenix Wars. Does anybody else have any other questions or input?
And I looked up, and it was Jason,
Badgett,
who did the slides the last time, and you said he's gone.
he's moved to Texas now. And
Okay.
he does still do freelance stuff, so we could ask him. There's other people I can ask too. Do you have an idea of how many awardees we might have without saying names?
It's either going to be 5 or 6. We're still,
Yeah. If it's 5 or 6, I might be able to just do it pro bono. But if we have funding that we want to give to someone, then I can recruit somebody to do
Okay.
it.
Do you have any video components to this at all? Sorry.
Yeah.
This is Rebecca.
yes. Yeah, that's what we're talking about, the projections.
Photos.
Oh.
So it's just still photos.
So slides.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I was thinking, oh, I have to teach this class in the fall, and I have 30 students that need projects, and a small documentary on each one of the artists that win would be
That would be really cool.
fascinating. It'd be great for social media, and
Wow, that'd be,
That's
Yeah.
really
Would be
great
nice.
idea.
I mean, that would,
it's a good timeline because that's right before our midterms. So that could be the
Actually, I love hearing that, because so often it doesn't align with the
Yeah.
schedule, but if it does, that's really interesting.
That's a
Yeah.
great
No, that'd be
idea.
a great precedent-setting kind of opportunity, and if that class is going, it'd be great to get that annually,
yeah.
you know, if
Would-
possible.
so, like, how long,
I would say, for a good social media piece, so anywhere between a minute to 3 minutes. And it could be TikTok, it could be just a video that you could put on any platform, but I would do probably vertical.
And we could put it on the webpage too. Could see
Nice.
Yeah.
This would be done after the fact.
Yeah,
think.
yeah, you could release them at any point that you felt necessary.
it would be lovely to be able to release some in advance to
It
get
would
some
be.
interest
Yeah, to get them going.
generated, yeah.
What's our date again? October
October 15th.
15, so it's
Yeah, plenty of
that's
time.
Plenty of time. It takes
Okay.
them 2 days. It would take them 2
Yeah.
hours really to put this thing together.
Oh, that'd be
That's right.
fantastic.
These are
What a
people
great
that
idea.
have grown up with technology. They're
Yeah.
not like me.
PowerPoint.
Things to, say, here, do this, otherwise they end up doing really anyway. So directing them is
Yeah.
perfect. So,
Okay.
yeah, I'd love to do that. So as soon as I get a list of the
Yeah,
people.
we could talk, yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Thank
And they
you.
could work directly with the artists and get just a short bit of information from them.
Yeah,
Oh, I think
interview
that'd be,
with
that's
some
wonderful.
Oh, I think that's fantastic.
Great idea. We could do one on Tony, too.
I was gonna, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So we would show them at the event, like instead of the slideshow?
You
I
can
think
do
that would be
too.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Sorry, future students.
I wonder if we'd have to do both, though. We might have to have some basics. I can get James to do some basic things,
Okay.
and then have these to be the showcase.
Yeah, it could be a.
be really
mix,
fun.
Yeah.
Great.
That sounds great. Yeah, I mean, the students who make them can be there as well. I mean, it's pretty exciting for a student to see their work presented in that
Now,
context.
if we're going to show them at the event, the tech director at the theater would probably need them about a week in advance
Okay.
in order to get them all set up and ordered. And
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we can
Sounds
work.
great.
Yeah, thank you very
Yeah.
much. That's really, that sounds like a perfect win-win.
Yep.
Oh, for sure.
fantastic.
All right, great. Well, I feel like this meeting was already a success. But we do have one more item under old business, which is an update on the Parks and Recreation Arts and Culture Comprehensive Plan. I don't actually know if there is one, but
There is. So tomorrow morning, there will be a press release announcing the actual steering committee. And then the steering committee will be invited to the first meeting with the consultant team, which will be happening on August 2nd at 5:30 PM. So we're really starting to get this kicked off. And they're going to be in town for a couple of days, so they'll be meeting with focus groups and that type of thing during that time. But that's just the first of, numerous meetings that they'll be having with the steering committee and community engagement efforts with the broader community. And then they are going to do a presentation, which I encourage you all to watch. Should be fairly brief, at next Tuesday's city commission meeting. So they'll be here presenting just their overarching, here's our plan for this effort and how we're going to approach it, and answering questions from the city commission members. So as of tomorrow morning, you should have all the information you need. And magically, in your email, I just sent you all information, because I've been sending out just the resource information. So we have a web page and a link to sign up for notifications, so people can stay tuned in this, because you are also advocates for the community, and so letting people know when we do community engagement, these are the places people find that information. Because we really want to reach out to as many people as possible, so you all and others actually inviting people that you know from the community who might be more intimidated to just show up for a city type thing, might be more compelled to say, oh, Daniel said it's okay, I'm going to go. So I'm excited about it. I think it's a real great opportunity.
that's great. Well, I'm personally very excited to find out who's on the steering commission. I'm very excited that I'm not on it. So,
Hey, you have a lot of meetings.
does anybody have any questions about the comprehensive Parks, Recreation, Arts, and Culture Comprehensive Plan? Neat. Well, I'll look for that press release tomorrow morning. That sounds great. That brings us to the end of old business and to the beginning of everyone's favorite category, which is miscellany. Our first item is the retreat, or a retreat. So I guess it's time for us to start discussing.
We wanted to check in. Abby reminded me that you all did a retreat last fall. I think that may have been somewhat in reaction to the change that occurred, because historically we've done that retreat in January. So we just wanted to check in and get your thoughts on that. I also know the transition of the new mayor happens now in December. I think that's right. Not that affects you directly, but part of it is when new people might be nominated or appointed to the board. So, and that's not to say it doesn't have to be a retreat. It can be a shorter meeting if you wanted to touch base in the fall.
Daniel B. Smith, well, I will say that our retreat last fall was really successful. I feel like everybody who attended it had a great time, felt like it was really productive. The more traditional retreat in January wasn't quite as productive. But if the switchover with the mayor is in December, it does seem like we could return to a January retreat, but I don't know. I'm curious what other people think. To a certain extent, it's the timing of it.
I think 2 retreats is overkill.
I will agree. I will agree with that. We should have
Agree.
one, but do we want to go back to January, or do we want to do another fall retreat?
Well, since the terms start and end in January, that might be a more logical time.
I think the only reason that retreat wasn't well attended in January, it just wasn't communicated until that Friday at 5. So I think if we get the word out, like we did with the fall one, we had a couple weeks notice, I think people will come in January.
Did you have something else you wanted to add, Dina?
Yeah, so this is Dina Amont. So I think January makes sense for the same reason that Mary was suggesting. And I was also going to ask if we have an update when you said that the mayor transition is in December, does that mean we are on hold for the appointment of members to this commission?
No, there's nothing holding back except whatever the mayor's thinking about the board and commission changes. If that seems like that may be giving pause, because we have 3 vacant seats currently, right?
I think that's right.
I believe we have 2. Let me see.
I was thinking 2 or 3, but I looked the other day and I thought it was 3.
I guess did we go up to 11?
Yeah.
These 3?
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
believe it is.
unfortunate, but happily, we've been making quorum. That's usually the biggest challenge with that. So that won't have a direct effect. I mean, it doesn't mean the mayor can't go ahead and appoint empty seats and fill out different terms, but for whatever reason, that isn't happening right away. So there's no direct impact on that per se.
Well, it would be nice if we had the new people, appointed
Right.
at the time we had the meeting.
I think
So-
that's been the general philosophy, is
Yeah.
1, you can elect your different seats,
Mm.
but 2, then you're bringing those new people on and you have a period of transition
Right.
time with the older, or the people who may be going off the board.
Seems like January seems like a pretty logical time then.
All right, yeah, that sounds like we all agree. So the retreat we had last fall was great, and we will have a retreat as great as that one in January. Will be the plan. So yeah, I agree with Marlo. The communication was the main issue with this past January. So I think we will resolve those issues going forward. Does anybody else have anything else they want to add about retreats, like the snacks and stuff at the fall retreat were pretty good. So.
That's
We
important.
didn't have coffee.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So maybe. Well, great. That's some great feedback. We will have more coffee. Got to have coffee for the retreat. The only other thing under miscellany is any updates on recommendations regarding boards and commissions committee, which is the committee, which I was literally just at immediately before coming here. From 5 to 7:20, I was over there, and we were discussing things. We had a number of feedback opportunities for folks in the public between the meeting today and the one that was prior, where people gave feedback on the recommendations that we had put forward. Some really good feedback. None of it really pertaining to this board at all. So the recommendation that had been initially put forth involved the Lawrence Cultural Arts Commission and the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, remaining 2 separate boards under the Unmistakable Identity umbrella. There has been a lot of discussion about the fact that the 2 boards, it would be nice if they knew each other a little bit more, potentially trying to have like an annual summit where the 2 boards get together and discuss some of the overlap areas, which is honestly a through line with all of the boards and commissions. Just more communication between different bodies is seen as something that could be beneficial. But after the feedback coming together tonight and looking over things again, the recommendation going forward to the City Commission is still going to be that the Unmistakable Identity Strategic Outcome Area has 2 boards, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board and the Cultural Arts Commission, not the Lawrence Cultural Arts Commission, just Cultural Arts Commission. We're dropping the Lawrence. At least that's my recommendation. None of the other boards and commissions have Lawrence at the beginning of them. It's just redundant. Everybody, I don't know. They're all Lawrence.
And it moves it up the alphabetical list.
Yes,
I don't
true.
have to scroll.
I hadn't thought of that.
We would be the CAC and not the LCAC. But anyways, that's really the only, that's all I really have to report. There's a bunch of other stuff involved in the meeting, so if you're super invested in aviation or body work or something, there's recommendations there that are more impactful, but for the Cultural Arts Commission, that's about it.
Is aviation going to, is that the one that's moving
TGT?
to TGT?
Aviation Advisory Board is along with the transit and multimodal are all going to be sort of connected city as the overarching umbrella for that. Those are all falling under. So.
What is it, one board for
It would-
TGT and aviation?
The TGT Advisory Board, is that what you're asking about?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
the
the
TGT Advisory Board as a separate thing, and Tim, you are represented there, so the recommendation going forward is that the TGT Advisory Board would not really be a board anymore. It is a fund, and folks can apply to that fund, and if they're applying for funding for an arts or cultural event, then the Cultural Arts Commission would review those applicants.
Ooh, so people would only, that would remove an entire funding source then?
The TGT would still exist as a funding source. There wouldn't be a separate board that would be convened to administer those funds. It would be the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board or the Cultural Arts Commission who would be leaned upon to.
But, are you following me, Marlo?
Yeah, I'm curious, like how the funding is divided. Is it half?
Yeah.
That, I mean, that is not.
I mean, that
the spe-
would make a huge difference to
Yeah.
any
The
organizations.
specificity there is, like, the meeting we had before was not getting down to that granular level of process or percentages on things. I mean, we're,
Because right now, there's a pool of funding through this commission. And then there's another pool of funding that's available through the transient guest tax. And many of us have made ourselves aware of both of those. And they've been very important sources of funding for very different reasons. So if that board is disbanded and that funding is referred back to this commission, then would it not look like organizations were trying to double dip?
I mean, I personally can't speak to the specifics of the process, but I mean, with the Transient Guest Tax Advisory Board, it just, as far as the definition of a board that the city operates under, having it be something which was put together annually to distribute those funds, that was deemed as being more like a task force, something which is just put together. And so I don't know the specifics of the process. I know that the money isn't going to be, I mean, that funding source is not going to go away. It's just, I think the process by which it is allocated might change. But we really aren't, with the committee, when we're looking through the boards and commissions, we're really not getting to that level of detail as far as how the new process is going to work. I think there's still a lot of work to be done to figure out how what the new process will be. But I don't think institutions or individuals who currently apply for funding through the TGT Advisory Board process should expect that is going to go. It's not going to go away. It's just the process will be different. But I really can't speak to the specifics. I mean, the meeting we had before, you can review the footage. We're really just looking at broad strokes, what boards exist and how those things are put together. And that recommendation we make, it is just a recommendation. It will then go to the city commission, and then they will do a bunch of work to figure out how the wires connect and how everything ends up working. So.
I hope there's time to consider the process because it makes me nervous. I know that grant program starts in December. I feel like we do that presentation before
Yeah.
Christmas.
Yeah.
And
it's
I
all-
know this
It's awarded
transition-
before Christmas.
Right, you're right. We find out.
Yeah.
So we apply like in November.
Yeah.
So that'll come up quick. I just remember this
So-
transition being so rocky and
Right.
just, you know,
I appreciate what you're saying, Daniel, about the broad strokes, but sometimes with some of these things, the devil's in the details.
Yeah, I can actually, sitting here just thinking it through, I can see two possible outcomes, and I won't mention either one of them right now, and we'll let them do their thing, but, I mean, I can see how to address your concern, but it's going to depend on how those funds transit.
Right.
I mean, I can speak for myself that the process that I think would make sense was to have the fund, the amount that currently exists, and have there be an established percentage that goes towards arts and culture, and an established percentage that goes towards what I refer to as sports, and then to have this body annually, as requested by the city commission, convene a group to essentially do what is now the TGT advisory board process. It would be a task force that we would oversee the creation of. They would do that work specifically for the non-sports things, and it would be under our purview. I mean, that's what I would. That's what but
Well, just to offer too, at that point, effectively, the community arts grants are also TGT funded,
Right.
so
That's
why
what
not
You
makes-
could combine them.
blend them?
Change the.
well, that's where I get nervous on our funding numbers because I know
Yes.
when things get combined, then it's
Yes.
like, oh, the Cultural Arts Commission already has $100,000. And then it, just feels like, oh, that makes me skeptical. And then I'm also worried about like who's making that decision, where that splits between sports and arts. Like who's deciding that and are they
And
aware?
yeah, and often the criteria that could be used for the community arts grants, that what you might apply for that would tend to be a little different sometimes than what you would apply for as a broader program under the tourism.
Yeah. It's different missions.
Yeah.
So
Somewhere.
what I'm hearing is that you're a little bit concerned that since we already have a certain amount for the community arts grants and then the TGT fund, that essentially that the percentage, it sounds like the percentage that would end up going towards the arts might be reduced, and I think that is a valid concern. I think a lot of things are getting shuffled around. In that shuffle, it's important for people like all of us in the Cultural Arts Commission to continue to be engaged in the process. When the City Commission takes these recommendations and starts to actually hammer out the details, for us to continue communicating with them and make sure they understand that if the TGT funding is going to be distributed through a different process, to make sure that that doesn't mean that it's all going to go to sports, or make sure it's all going that the process is makes sense or achieves the goals that we want.
Yeah, we just have to preserve the identity of the programs.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. We have to, because there are years where TGT doesn't exist, or there have been years where TGT didn't exist, but other things did. And so, you really can't combine them. You have to maintain the integrity of them. And we'll just have to figure it out. But I absolutely would be against combining one. Okay.
Yep.
Ultimately, I feel like the question comes down to, how are all these decisions made? And I think that we around this table need to be players in helping to make sure that those decisions are made in a way which preserves funding for arts and cultural events and all the things that we want to see. I will say that that looking at that funding and how it is distributed throughout the process, I have tried to push for it to retain sort of at least the identity that it is about events, that it is about unmistakable identity, sports on one side and arts and cultural events on the other side, and not have it just funneled into a generic economic prosperity outcome, which I feel like leans more towards the raw number of heads and beds and hotel occupancy and doesn't necessarily prioritize the nature of the events. So that's sort of where I've tried to push it. But if anybody else wants to help me keep trying to push it that direction, that would be appreciated.
Who are we pushing it to? Is it like mobilizing again, having meetings with city commissioners, writing letters, that sort of thing? Who is the decision makers of the process?
Ultimately, the city commission will get the recommendation from the committee, and they will look at it and they will, take that consideration into account and before making their decision. Their decision could be exactly what we recommend, or it could be very, very different. And that is ultimately, it's ultimately up to the commissioners. So if there's recommendations going from the committee to the city commission and you think they're good, you could communicate that to them. If you think that there's recommendations that you disagree with, you could communicate that to them as well. So I think that is, and there will be opportunities once the city commission receives a recommendation, they will, deliberate on it and there will be opportunities for people to give feedback to them on their positions and all that stuff. So that I feel like is the road forward.
Perhaps as a board, we can create a stance and a letter, that I don't think now is the moment to do it, but maybe, because I have that fear that just combining these funds together and then people look at like, oh, the arts is getting $100,000 or $120,000 now. They're fine. Just having that sanctity of these two different missions of these funds, like you said, preserving the identity of them.
Yeah, and I think, it's not unusual for organizations like ours to administer multiple pools of funds, and they maintain their character. So we just have to make sure we're talking about it.
And even with this last year's community arts grants, we after the fact discussed the fact that it might be nice to have a primary pool and then a smaller secondary pool. And so, I think that there's a lot of opportunities for that.
I think we need to rely on you too, Daniel, as kind of our representative to the committee to be aware that there might be some mission shift there that we weren't too crazy about.
Unanticipated consequences.
Yes, that's exactly right, Tim.
Right.
I'm definitely aware. I mean, for me, and again, you can review the footage. Like, I feel like I spent a decent amount of time just trying to convince people that the Cultural Arts Commission should be a standalone entity and not combined with our sports friends. It is an ongoing effort, and I appreciate additional voices. And I do think that if we wanted to, as a collective, put together a stance that we could communicate on, that would be good. And that if also, in addition to that, if folks want to have individual conversations with commissioners, that is always a good idea. So.
Thank you.
Daniel, did you know, I'm looking at the current draft online, and I don't know when this came out a while ago. Do you know if the new version will be updated before it goes to the commission?
Oh, as far as the version that's online, the version that's online is prior to the feedback. So the version that we were hammering out before this meeting is with adjustments based.
So that'll be so this version is actually no longer current.
Yeah, that's
okay. So just good to know. So we know we can't see it yet, but when it comes out, it'd be good to know that. Okay.
Good to know.
If you have any other questions about any other sections of but those are the two that actually relate to this body. So that's that committee.
Okay.
Are there any other questions about the committee? After that is sharing of community events, and this can be upcoming and can also be reflections on very cool community events that have happened just recently for multiple people here at the table. So
This is Dina Amont. So kudos to Marlo for putting on such a wonderful Free State Festival. It was just wonderful. The crowds were great. The the films were amazing, the events were amazing, so amazing job.
Thank you. And Rebecca's also on my board, so
Oh,
she's
of course.
done some heavy
And-
lifting too.
Yes, yeah.
But it was
You
interesting.
too, Rebecca. Yeah, it was wonderful.
And it was wonderful to see your faces. Like, I saw so many people out at the festival, and it was just great to connect person to person. I think it was the first festival that felt like pre-pandemic times. So we're back.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you. Appreciate that.
Jamie Smith, yeah, I'll say that for me personally, I wanted to go to more events. There was, I don't even know how many total events there were. It seemed like I literally,
A lot. 30
yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. I managed to go see Boots Riley, who's been I've been a fan of his for a long time. So that was very, very cool. It's wild. It's wild that somebody like Boots would, I don't know, just, come to Lawrence. It's really, really amazing. And the Free State Festival, brings that caliber of artists to our community. So.
With our limited city funding, we brought in $60,000 to the economy. And so I think I would love to see the stats on other events that I know we fund and have similar stats. Because I think that investment, it just trickles down. We're paying artists, we're paying vendors, restaurants, hotels. It all goes back into the community. And so I know every grant that we funded has that same story. And so I think showing that, demonstrating those numbers, getting that communication out, I think it makes our case stronger for these types of grant programs.
This week, I'd like to invite all of you to attend the Penguin production at Theater Lawrence. This is the program that we do with special needs kids. So they have been in rehearsal for 4 months now on Beauty and the Beast Junior. And they are kids between the ages of 10 and 21. They're partnered with a neurotypical young person, hopefully of a similar age, who work with them. And together they will be taking to the stage this Friday night and Saturday afternoon, I believe. And it is one of the most moving theatrical productions you could ever want to see. It is just so, it's so positive and so heartwarming, and just a real, you're crying and you're rooting for them at the same time, and they're really wonderful. So if you have some time, and if there are any tickets left, I would really encourage you to visit.
All right, great. If there's no more sharing of community events, it actually brings us to the end of the agenda. I don't know what time it is. Hopefully, it's 8:25. Pretty good. So, unless anybody else has anything else they want to add, nothing, we can just go ahead and adjourn. Marciana on Zoom, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Marciana.
Thank you to city staff. Thanks to Kurt over there doing all the technical stuff. And we will meet next August 9th, same time, same place. Thank you. That's it.
Okay.
I'm gonna go home and take a nap.